The Aaron Rodgers era is officially over in New York as they've released him to be a free agent. So the question is, where will Aaron Rodgers go? Or better yet, what team is going to be even willing to take him? He threw for nearly 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions in his 2024 campaign. And when you compare him to the rest of the league, he was 8th in passing, 7 in touchdowns, and there were 11 other quarterbacks who had more interceptions than him. That doesn't exactly seem like someone who should be retiring, does it?
You're damn right.
You can make an honest argument that there are at least 25 other teams in the league that would be better off with him as their quarterback next year, which means off the bat we can rule out the Eagles, the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, Packers, Commanders, and also probably the Chargers, seeing as Herbert is only 26 years old, even though it seems like he's been in the NFL for a decade. Anybody else would probably take a chance at Rodgers for another reason. The reality is he's just washed for Aaron Rodgers, which is still strong enough to guide a team with a strong defense and weapons on offense to a Super Bowl. And that really seems to go against the narrative that he was completely washed this season, that he couldn't do anything. Drink your water. According to these betting odds, the Steelers are the #1 team in contention to sign him. And I'm sure some people are probably wondering what makes these betting odds so reliable. And the answer is, there's nothing more truthful about someone than the way they spend their money. People simply are not going to bet on things that they don't believe is true. There are bettors out there who spend all their time researching the ins, the outs of football, including things like relationships and other factors we don't even realize exist in the industry. And they put all these different factors together to help them guess and assume where he's going to sign. All of those factors, coupled with roster needs and financial flexibility, help set the table. Again, most people are okay with lying with their words, but not with their money. But what really sticks out to you most about this list? The 49ers, right? And if you think about what we just said about how insider information is a major factor in these numbers, could this be hinting at some type of contract disputes or issues between Brock Purdy and the 49ers? Or is this based solely on their cap space and Aaron Rodgers' love for that team? I'm sure Brock Purdy woke up today, saw that, and maybe felt a little uncomfortable.
Good. That's one less loose end.
Hit that subscription button. But the #1 team on that list, the Steelers, is actually a perfect fit for him. Outside of his obvious physical decline, the biggest red flag in signing him is his reputation for creating issues inside the locker room, disrupting chemistry in the organization, just in general being a knucklehead. But in reality, a lot of his teammates, going all the way back to his time in Green Bay, have always vouched for him, that have always said he's a great teammate. And the Jets organization was in shambles when he got there, and it's in shambles when he's leaving, so it's not really his fault. And whether or not you do believe the rumors about him, that he's a ruckus and he creates issues in the locker room, the Steelers, that are coached by Mike Tomlin, would probably be the perfect fit for that type of person. If Aaron Rodgers really wants to win that championship, he's not going to go into that locker room and create issues with Mike Tomlin at the helm. He's going to respect someone like that. Mike Tomlin is highly respected by his players on and off the field. This, coupled with the fact that both parties seem highly motivated to capture another Lombardi trophy, especially considering that both of their legacies would exponentially grow if they captured another title. You could even argue that both of them would ascend to top 5 in each of their respective categories. Mike Tomlin with 2 Super Bowl rings as head coach. What 5 coaches are better all time? Aaron Rodgers with 2 Super Bowl rings. What 5 quarterbacks are better all time? Not to mention, George Pickens is widely considered to be one of the best receivers in the league, and would be a major asset in getting the most out of Rodgers. If Russell Wilson can get that team to the playoffs, I think Aaron Rodgers has a great shot as well. Not to mention, the defense, anchored and motivated with TJ Watt, would give this team a major stability on both sides of the ball. As long as Aaron Rodgers is okay with Mike Tomlin being the vocal point of that locker room, that really is a great fit. Now, the Vikings I find to be the most interesting because it seems to be the most mutually beneficial for both parties. JJ McCarthy is obviously itching to get out there and under center, as he missed out on the entire 2024 season with the meniscus injury. But as Aaron Rodgers himself has shown, it can pay dividends to sit on the bench behind a superstar, and in that process absorb as much as you can. This could be very beneficial for the Vikings long term. Obviously, the team is well rounded enough that they finished with 14 wins last season, but of course the entire season ultimately came crashing down in week 18 and the first week of the playoffs, as it seemed like Darnold just lost all his mojo as soon as the pressure piled on. I can imagine Justin Jefferson would jump at the opportunity to play with Aaron Rodgers for even just 1 year. And on top of everything else, this would just further the fact that we are indeed living in a simulation, as Aaron Rodgers would be following Brett Favre to not only the Jets and the Vikings after. As for the Rams, I honestly just don't see Matthew Stafford retiring or leaving to another team, although it does seem possible he might be going to the Giants. But teams like the Colts, the Browns, the Raiders, and a few other teams just don't seem like they're capable of winning a Super Super Bowl no matter who their quarterback is are just not going to be the places he wants to go. His goal would be to show up day one and start contending for a title, and if it's anything less than that, I don't see him going there. I think a lot of people are forgetting that he's a 40-year-old who just came off of an Achilles tear and surgery, and as that season progressed, as the 24 season progressed, he was playing a lot better. And I can't imagine there isn't just one team who thinks they're one piece away who would not give him at least 1 or 2 years on a contract to see if they can make it happen. Personally, I think it would be awesome and great for the NFL storyline to have someone like him, an icon from his generation, potentially walk off into the sunset after maybe one last ride in the playoffs. What about you guys? Where do you want to see Aaron Rodgers go? Or are you one of those people who's just sick of Aaron Rodgers and wants him out of the NFL? As for me personally, I've never loved Aaron Rodgers. I've never hated Aaron Rodgers. I've always recognized how good he really is. As a Patriots fan, as a Tom Brady fan, I've always felt he was kind of annoying because people thought he was just the greatest quarterback ever, but he had only had 1 championship, only 1 Super Bowl under his belt. But if you look at him in a vacuum, if you just recognize what he can do on the field, his intellectual abilities, like what he can just do as at the quarterback position, yeah, he's absolutely amazing. Let's just drink your water. And I guess there does seem to be a little bit of truth behind the idea that he just seems like he can't really conjure up, lead a locker room to a championship without maybe the help of a coach. Maybe he's one of those guys who just likes to go against the grain so much that it rubs people the wrong way in the locker room and it's just hard to galvanize everyone together. I'm not really sure why he hasn't been able to win that 2nd Super Bowl or even and really get close. But at the end of the day, he is a legend. At his absolute peak, his absolute prime, he may be the greatest quarterback we've ever seen in the sense of like one moment, just the streakiness of this, like the hotness that he had those like 2 years where he just was incredible, but he never won anything with it, and that's why he's not considered to be top 5 anymore. Almost every one of my channel's viewers is not subscribed to the channel. Do me a huge favor and hit that subscription button. We're trying to get monetized, my dog and I. And if you enjoyed this video, think about watching either of these videos that's on the screen. Go out there and do something great.